Production facilities for Arts Insight provided by FilmBiz Recycling, a nonprofit prop shop creating socially responsible and sustainable solutions from media industry waste.
From Brooklyn, New York, subway performer capital, admission is free whether you ask for it or not. It's Arts Insight with Andrew Guidoni. Tonight, jazz musician Ethan Mann.
Welcome to Arts Insight. I'm Andrew. Here on the show we feature some of New York's finest neighborhood talent from all 5 boroughs of New York City, right here from FilmBiz Recycling in Guitarist, Brooklyn, as we do each and every week. Liz, what you got there?
I've got some old technology that we are going to use for when Arts Insight goes on tour following the leftovers from American Idol.
That is funny. A
Yes.
CB radio, huh? Are you
Come in, breaker.
You ice trucking today?
I'm nice trucking today, finding out where our production crew is. I think our cameraman is coming in now. Dave? Dave, is that you?
I'll let you have your conversation a little later, but I'm going to share with you today some artwork of the day that we have here. This is from maximalist artist Stevensky Brewster. Is that right? Stevensky, yes. This is an interesting work. I like it a lot. It's layers of provocation of social awareness, typically juxtaposing natural and industrial symbols. It's very colorful work. It's sort of embodied in a tiny frame. I like its spontaneity. What do you think, Liz?
I like it. It's very dynamic. It has a lot of color, a lot of punch, and I'd like to see more of his work. I understand he has quite a gallery in Midtown.
And your
It's
trucker...
an open studio tour at his place.
It's calling the truckers there, I take it.
Call the truckers. Get over to that artist's place, meet you there in 5, 10, 20.
Well, you're in for a treat, and so are the truckers. Tonight's guest is a jazz guitarist who's lived in the city for 20 years, living in Harlem now. A native of the Manhattan School of Music, he's played master classes with jazz legends like Wynton Marsalis and Jim Hall. As a composer, he's created original numbers that have received praise in the jazz community, and as a band leader, he heads an organ trio playing jazz standards with a new take on contemporary pop songs. He can be heard every first and third Sunday of the month at Jules Bistro in the city. His latest recording, It's All About a Groove, joins fellow musicians Chip Crawford and Greg Brandy together for a delightful jazz album. Please welcome to the show, Ethan Mann. Welcome to the show, Ethan Mann. Ethan, a pleasure. Great music. So tell us about what we heard tonight.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about the accompanist for a second, Pablo Maneres, and a new guy on the scene who I've recently met, a very talented musician from Chile. Tell
me about how you got into guitar and how you got into jazz in particular. Which legends gave you that inspiration?
Well, when I first got into guitar, it wasn't jazz yet, and the first, my parents gave me a guitar, and my dad gave me a Pete Seeger. It was an LP with an instructional book. Pete Seeger, the great folk singer. So he demonstrated a lot of styles, and I learned a lot from that book. So that was my first introduction to guitar. And later on, my stepfather introduced me to the music of Wes Montgomery. That was a few years later, and that was the first, I think, jazz guitarist that I ever heard, and he's still my favorite jazz guitarist to this day.
Can we talk about your sound and the musicians that you work with that work well with your sound?
My main technique is something I got from my teacher, Rodney Jones, and it's along the lines of a George Benson right-hand picking technique. It's a particular way to hold the hand, and it gives you a certain articulation. When I was studying with Rodney, he encouraged me to change, and he said that my present technique at the time would not really get me where I wanted to go. And then one day I was walking, and there was this festival, a music festival, and I heard a guitar, and I recognized the articulation of a Rodney or George Benson type of a technique just from hearing it. And I walked closer, and sure enough, the guy was holding his hand and his pick in that way. And that's when I decided, I was out of school by then, and that's when I decided I really have to change. I can hear it, I want it, and I got to do it.
What does that technique look like physically?
It's sort of like this, where you're coming from the guitar, you're coming from a little bit from underneath. Some guys pick like this, and this is a bit more from underneath.
Can you describe your creative process when you gel with other musicians? And when I'm talking about this, I mean improvising, because there's obviously a language and a dynamic that you guys share. You know, it's not just the energy, but you know where the other person, what the other person's thinking. It's an intuitive thing, but I'd rather you say it. You know,
even though jazz seems like it's a pretty free thing, there's a lot of structure and there are a lot of rules. As long as the other people, even if you're meeting them for the first time, if they play by the same rules, the rules in jazz, not counting free jazz or avant-garde jazz, but straight ahead, modern jazz, contemporary jazz, bebop, swing, all these have a set of rules, and pulse is a very important rule. So the pulse remains pretty constant. And then the other rule is form, and the form has to do with the chord structure of the song, how many bars are in the song, and what the harmonic motion is over that form. So those things are constant, and then those are the rules we play by. So if everybody's playing by those rules, then we can communicate. We can start listening to each other, interacting with each other, responding to what the other person brings. And that can happen. I've traveled a little bit. Well, my wife is from Poland. We've been to Poland. I played with some Polish musicians there who didn't speak English, but knew the American standard, the Great American Songbook. All you had to say is tell them the key and count off, and then you were communicating in a very deep way, instantly. So that's a great thing about people studying the same sort of tunes and knowing those rules. But then that gets a lot deeper, of course, when you can play with people over a long period of time. And it's hard to do because in the jazz world, you know, everybody has to pretty much go where the money is. Whoever calls them for a gig, they have to go there. It's really hard to keep a steady band together. I have been fortunate to play with a couple of guys who are really great, and it's been an ongoing residency at Jules Bistro on St. Mark's Place.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I intend to go at some point and check out your music. So tell me about the CD that you released. It's All About a Groove.
Yeah, that was that group, and we had been playing that steady gig for about 2 years, and we thought we should record. So the recording session was very easy. Sometimes you'll do a recording and it's new music and everybody's busy and you have a couple rehearsals and then you go in and record it, and you can kind of get the songs across, but you haven't had time to live in the songs for a long time. And this was very different because since we had been playing together for a long time, the studio thing was very comfortable and easy.
Good. I intend to check out the show at Jules Bistro. A pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much, Ethan. Ethan Mann. We'll be right back. I want to thank you for tuning into Arts Insight, and Liz, of course, wants to thank the awesome trucking community for watching.
Yes, over and out. We are almost out of here.
Questions, comments, you can reach us at the Arts Insight hotline. The number is on the screen. And, of course, if you are too shy to pick up the phone, email us with guest suggestions, comments, questions, death threats, stuff like that, all that good stuff to artsinsightshow@gmail.com. Thank you, Stephanie. And I want to thank you for watching Arts Insight. My thanks, of course, to Ethan Mann, and my thanks to Richard Cadlub of the Brooklyn Walking Tours. Thanks for watching Arts Insight. Make it a good one and have a good night. Production facilities for Arts Insight provided by Film Biz Recycling, a nonprofit prop shop creating socially responsible and sustainable solutions from media industry waste.